Have you been a little concerned that maybe the president lately, including in his most recent briefings regarding coronavirus, seems to be touting some of the very things that we're actually standing against: masks, vaccines, etc., etc., etc. What is the president's strategy, and what does this have to do with the coming election? We're going to cut right to the chase today. I don't claim to be a prophet, yet I can look at certain factors and see the writing on the wall. I live in a state that is allegedly run by a Republican, Governor Mike DeWine, or as we refer to him as DeWiner. To me, he is the little snivel twit. He is the absolute classic definition of slimy, sneaky little politician. Some of you on the national level have been following the news cycle that the Speaker of our House here in the state of Ohio was involved in bribes and kickback, etc., etc., and he's been arrested and under indictment, and some other members of the state legislative body as well. What you may not realize, these were key Republicans who were pushing back on the Governor DeWine overreach on state mandates here in Ohio. And they were putting forth legislation that the governor would not simply by edict, by decree, be able to just endlessly come up with things like mask mandates and shutdowns and mandatory vaccine and mandatory testing and mandatory, we're not going to have an election by person to person, stand in line, vote in. It's all going to be done via the mail. And they were pushing legislation that all of these decrees that the governor wants to do would actually have to go through a legislative process and be voted on. And Shazam Batman, just as they were gaining momentum, just as they were gaining traction, out of nowhere comes this anonymous tip that these very individuals are involved in bribery. Can you say political hit job by the governor himself? These governors have become little dictators. They have become their own little emperors, their own little czars. There's no oversight to what they do. There's no one standing there saying, Mr. Governor, you can't. So here in our state, we're gearing up for yet another shutdown as he's shutting down more businesses and shutting down county fairs and shutting down. And yet, what he's not talking about, as he keeps going out there day after day, well, we're seeing spikes in cases. What he's not talking about is not only is the mortality rate just plummeting, the recovery rate in the state of Ohio is nearly off the charts. 99.04% recovery rate in the state of Ohio. Is the governor talking about that? No. You better understand what the governor is up to, what a lot of these other governors are up to. But the governor, my prediction is he's not running for re-election in the state of Ohio. He wants to position himself, mark me on this, some of these never-Trumpers that are circling the wagons now and talking about supporting Biden, you think, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Well, it's very obvious in this election cycle that the Democratic Party has really positioned itself far, far left. And I'll explain to you why they think that's a winning strategy in a moment. But there are moderate Republicans who just absolutely cannot get on board and will not get on board with the Trump agenda, and they fear that the Trump agenda is going to be the permanent direction of the Republican Party, as well it should, and I'll explain why in a moment. So what these never-Trumpers, what these rhino Republicans are now doing, with John Kasich coming out and going to speak at the DNC, and there he is going to formally endorse Joe Biden. Guys like Mike DeWine who want to run for president in the next election cycle, they want to position themselves as the sane Democrat. Doesn't matter that right now they're Republican. And what they're hoping to do, and this is going to be their strategy, they're going to come out and say, look, the Republican Party has gone just lunatic right, and the Democrat Party has gone lunatic left. And I believe that there are many of you Democrats and many of you Republicans, you don't like the direction of your party. You're not an extreme. You're not socialist, but you're not a rabid, drooling Trump supporter either. Come, be part of the sane party. Bum, ba-dum, bum. And I'm telling you that one of the things that Mike DeWine cannot do is in any way position himself to help the re-election of Donald Trump through the state of Ohio. Remember, Trump's last really big mega rally was in Toledo, Ohio, and it was huge. The governor told Mr. Trump, no, you can't have a convention in Ohio. I'm sorry. John Kasich wouldn't even attend President Trump's convention 3 years ago. Now, he said, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump, so I can't go and stand up there and represent a guy I don't... really? Because Democratic governors will go to Republican events held in their state, if for no other reason as the official ambassador, emissary of the state to welcome to the state of Ohio. Please enjoy our hotels, spend your money, boost our economy, thank you for coming, and then leave. Kasich couldn't even do that among people of his own party because he didn't like the guy running. So lately we hear the president talk about things like wearing a mask. It's a good idea. And he was touting yesterday how quickly they will have the vaccine out and ready and available. And you might be wondering, has he been absconded by the enemy? Has our agenda now been hijacked by the Fauci Steins? Are they winning? Let me tell you the 4D chess move I see the president up to. The president knows that governors like DeWine, and I was just talking to representatives from the state of Ohio today. As I'm going to tell you in September exactly what DeWine is going to do in Ohio, and other governors will then follow suit. He is going to come out in September and declare it's not safe to vote in person. So the president is, I believe, trying to push the vaccine, push the idea of getting things safe so that he has a counter narrative ready. But I also think he's setting a stage even beyond that. Because, see, for all these governors to declare mail-in voting only would require that federal election laws be changed. There just simply isn't enough time to do that. So I think what the president is doing is setting up the argument, look, I have endorsed and pushed and promoted every measure that could possibly be done to ensure the safety of Americans. And yet these governors are just hell-bent on rigging and stealing an election. Therefore, I will use the election laws that are already in place. And, you know, I've been talking about the need for masks. I've been talking about the need for a vaccine. And you know what? If it really is that dangerous out there right now that we cannot line up to vote, then I am going to suspend the election. And there is law for him to be able to do that. And when it's finally safe for us to line up again and vote, we will do so. Why do you think the Democrats are pushing and promoting the rioting taking place in cities across America? Now, they know full well that these crackpot, meth head, anarchists themselves don't actually go vote. And using the talking pieces at CNN like Don Lemonhead to try to convince us that these are moms and grandmas out there peacefully protesting, and the president is sending in federal troops like stormtroopers, and this is awful. And we're not allowed to see the video footage of what's really happening. Like I posted the video of Dr. Stella Emanuel giving her 5-minute speech that YouTube keeps yanking down. Yep, I put it up. I think it was up all of an hour and it got pulled down. Some of you might have gotten to see it before YouTube snatched it right out of there. And everybody's talking about how the social media platforms keep yanking that video away. What they don't want you to see, it is censorship by omission. And the media is practicing censorship by omission on these riotings. They're not letting you see what's really happening. And they're trying to sell to the American people that the president is this neo-Nazi clamping down and rah, rah, rah. Now, why would the Democrats want cities literally being ripped apart, torn apart, devoured, on fire? See, when the moment is right, they want to be able to come forward and say, the cities, look at them. It's not safe. We can't vote. They want the vote being done by mail. They know they've got a candidate who in a straight up actual election doesn't have a prayer of winning. This is why he's not going to debate. He doesn't have cognitive mental faculty. He's not going to be able to stand up there unscripted. They know that. Donald Trump will eat him alive on a debate stage. They can't go out and campaign, and they learned a lesson from Hillary. Hillary wasn't physically or mentally or emotionally up to campaigning the last go-round. So she sat a lot of it out, assuming she was just going to coast to victory. Well, they learned that there really was an enthusiasm gap. And the enthusiasm went in Trump's favor, and it does again in spades. That's why they're so worried about who Biden ever picks to be VP, and I'm sure that person's already been chosen. And they're hoping that that at least creates some type of energy, some type of, but their ace card, their trump up their sleeve, if you will, is to not have in-person voting so they can manipulate the results, so they can steal the election. And the president knows this. And his nuclear option trump card is to declare that if it's not safe to vote, then with the existing federal laws the way they're written, which in-person voting must happen, if we cannot do that, then I am suspending the election. Wait till you hear the hue and cry from the media, the politicians. Wait till the courts start saying, you can't do that. And it just keeps getting appealed and appealed till eventually it arrives at the Supreme Court, which we know what Chief Justice Roberts will do. But this is, I believe, what Trump is setting the stage for. And what you need to understand and what you need to convey to people going forward in this election season, this is not about Democrat versus Republican. This is about our republic, America versus socialism. Because that's what Joe Biden represents. That's what the radical left is all about now. And if Biden gets elected, this will be a radical destruction of America as you know it and a recreating it as a Marxist socialist nation. Mark it down. And some of these governors, like DeWine, who claim to be a Republican, claim to be anti-socialist, they're so stupid in the fact that they are being used as willing dupes and willing pawns. They think that by enacting these mandates and tampering things down and ultimately declaring it's not safe to vote, that then the next election cycle they can, quote, run as the sane Democrat. Not going to happen. DeWine, you are such an amateur, and in this, you are in so far over your head you don't even realize it. The best thing you could do right now is reverse course and really get on the president's bandwagon. If you want any type of political future, if you want to continue to do anything in the world of politics, the best way forward for you is get on board with the president. Because I'm telling you, if Joe Biden gets elected, there's no future for a Mike DeWine. They will look at you and all the rhinos as, if you are traitors to your own party, you'll be traitors to me. You will be erased politically. See, you don't even get the game that's being played, and you think you're kind of calling the shots, and you are a willing dupe, a pawn, and they are going to eat you alive, and there will be nothing for you when this is over. So that's it. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to digest, but that's what's happening right now. This isn't just hyperbole. This is unfolding before our eyes, and they are so brazen They know it's unfolding before our eyes, and they don't care. And they've got big tech to cover for them. They'll pull off the videos they don't want you to see. They'll pull off the news footage they don't want you to see. And the media. You know, when I was a kid and we would hear stories about the Iron Curtain and Russia, there was almost this idea that the Russian news agencies, the journalists there, were, it was like the Russian secret police, the KGB, were standing in the TV studios and pointing guns at the newscasters and making sure they only read from the approved script. I don't think that's what happened. I think the media saw themselves proudly as representatives of the Communist Party. And in their mind, they were ensuring the security of the Russian people by touting the communist line. And that is exactly what PMSNBC, CNN, and to a certain degree, a big chunk of Fox News, the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media. Case in point, the doctors that held the press conference the other day. I saw somebody say, well, that wasn't a real press conference. Breitbart News covered it. And they keep referring to Dr. Emanuel as that African doctor. If that isn't coded racism, she's actually a doctor in Houston, Texas. What she needs to do, and I know she doesn't want to lose her license, she claims that, I have been writing the prescriptions for other doctors to be on hydroxychloroquine. Release your list. I know, you'd have to sacrifice your career. I got it. You see what they do, though? They discredit her. They pull down her videos. They censure. They censor. And that is what's going forward. And the president can't say anything that he can actually get any real traction from in mainstream media. Get ready for him to invoke the nuclear option. You know what? I concede. Coronavirus, it really is serious. You know what? Because we can't do this safely, I'm suspending the election. Bum, ba-dum, bum. He can do that up to 2 years and still run for re-election and get another 4. Boom, shakalaka boom, shakalaka bang. Well, that's it for this rant. Tell me what you think. I do read your comments. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. Share this video to social media platforms of your choosing. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Smack the bell and click the word all to get notification of my next rant.